Yo, what's good, Chosen fam? Jay Chosen bring guys another great video. If you're new to this channel, hit that like button, subscribe, ring that bell. So never Lord give me a word, I get to share with you guys. This series is going to be called Faith Walks, because we walk by faith and not by sight. A lot of you are walking by faith and not by sight. And that's why God is about to honor your faith. That's why God is about to come through on his promises. That's why God's going to bless you with your heart desires, because you're walking by faith and not by sight. There's been many times where I was in positions where I had to have faith and not what other people were saying to me or my current situation, but I had to have faith in God. I had to have faith that he was going to come through on his promises. And sure enough, he always came through. Either if that was in finances, either that was anything that I needed for God to provide, he provided. So let's really talk about it. Let's talk about faith. You know, some of you are in trials and tribulations, or your tests are being coming at you, where your faith is being tested. And during those times, when you overcome that test, when you overcome that obstacle, your faith is increased, because you know whenever that trial and tribulation come at you again, you're going to have faith to overcome that. You're going to have the faith and the belief that God's going to come through, because he already came through in the past. Faith without works is dead. God said have faith small as a mustard seed. So as you guys are praying and you're going into prayer and you asking God for things that you need, ask him to increase your faith. Ask him to increase your faith, because when he increases your faith, you can start believing and having faith in the bigger things that God have in store for you. A lot of time people don't reach they get kind of capped out in their life, because that's where their faith is capped out at. Their faith has a limitation. They have a limitation on what God can do in their life, or what they can believe that God can do in their life for them. So when you ask God to increase your faith, when you're walking by faith and not by sight, and God is increasing your faith, and your faith is growing, you start to believe and have faith that God is going to make you the head and do extraordinary great things in your life. You're going to be the next Serena Williams. You're going to be the next Will Smith. You're going to be the next whoever big. Why? Because you have faith and you believe that God can do extraordinarily and great things in your life. You believe that for your life, opposed to just seeing other people and seeing how they're doing it, but you're believing it for yourself, that God can do something great in your life as well. So as you guys go into prayer, ask God to increase your faith. When those trials and tribulations, those tests is coming, for you to have faith in God that he's going to come through, have faith. Believe. And if it's hard for you to have faith and believe because your flesh is kind of taking over, go into worship. Because when you go into worship, the enemy becomes your footstool. Your flesh becomes into submission to the Spirit. Why? Because the holy presence, God's holy presence, his holy glory is coming up on you. And that lack of faith that you were having in that moment, it goes away. And because you worship God, because you got your faith back and you fought the enemy, now your faith has been increased. Now you done won that battle. Now you have won that test. So as you go on in the season that you go on to, and you're having an increase of faith, God is pleased. And it says in the word, and I said this in one of my previous videos, it's hard to please God if we're not having faith. It's hard to please God if we don't believe in him, if we don't have faith in what he has in store for us. It's hard, because God is spiritual. So we have faith for the bigger things, like God, I want to do things that never been seen or done before. Have faith and God is going to do it for you. Believe it. Believe it, beloved, because what God has in store for you is going to be great. He said that he gave us dominion on earth. And when God gave us dominion on earth, that speaks for itself. Anything on this earth that you can have it, but you have to believe and have faith. And not get consumed of the things of this world, but be consumed with God. I'm sorry about that. But be consumed with God. And when you're consumed with God, it's just all those things will be added on to you. But again, we have to have faith and believe that God has our best interest, that God is always going to come through, because he is. But our flesh don't want us to have that relationship with God. It says in the Bible, our flesh is an enmity against God. In other words, our flesh is enemy against God. But when we can submit that flesh through worship, through praising God, through fasting, then the sky is the limit. Why is that? Not even the limit. There's no limitations on your life, period. Why is that? Because your flesh is under submission and you're operating out of nothing but spirit. And that's what God wants. So any of you that believe and have faith that God's going to do something great, believe and have faith in that. And when the trials and tribulations, the tests come, keep your faith. And if it's hard, go into worship and praise, because that's the test that's coming up on you. And the enemy is trying to take that away from you. But when you go into prayer, when you go into specifically worship, it goes away. God bless you guys.